So my new gear just arrived. Well, not just arrived, it's been here now in the box like this. Cat's opened that for me a little bit. It's been here now 10-12 days. Couldn't do nothing because I was doing over this room completely, so that's a whole different project separately from this. Why am I recording this? Because years to come I must have looked back at this and see what I actually bought, right? And it's nice to see it in a video than just in images. So here we go, it's the first opening right here. This could be all dead on arrival. The OA, I don't even know because I didn't have time to do anything because I had to do all this stuff in here, and I thought I would be done time my gear showed up. So here's the liquid cooler. This is there's more than enough videos out there. Corsair linking all that software monitoring and so forth and so on. This will be going in my Cooler Master Cosmo 2, I believe, case. So that's that. And this is my first SSD ever right here. But before I take that out the box, let's take out my power supply. I got everything on sale. Oh boy, this is heavy. I got everything on sale, and I saved like 70 bucks. The reason why I went with Corsair, because I wanted to go with PC Power and Cooling, but the mockery with PC Power and Cooling now is completely unstable. Even though they sold out to OCZ that bought them, and then OCZ start publishing power supply units separately from PC Power and Cooling. But now it was just luck because there was no big talk about it in the media. I can't even tell you where I found it. But who bought the company from OCZ, PC Power and Cooling, was Firepower. Pretty cool name, right? Firepower with the power supply unit from PC Power and Cooling. So that was a cool name. That's who bought PC Power and Cooling. So now you can understand. Now you can see and understand why I didn't want to go with them, because they're all over the place now. The company is like being handed around. No, it's not happening. I'm not going with them. And in the 21st edition of Upgrading and Repairing PCs from Scott Miller, or Muller, whatever his name is, recommended Corsair. PC Power and Cooling, obviously, and I think it was Entermax, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but there's a lot of power supply units that's popping up over the years. Kruger is another one. Kruger has control over controlling the voltages from single rail, dual rail, and so forth and so on. This is quite. I think you can do the same thing with this power supply unit. This has a power factor correction. It has, I don't know how much, 80% plus platinum, so that's 80% efficiency. I thought it was supposed to be 92% or something like that. No, it's 80%. Oh no, I'm confusing myself with the newest one they launched. Corsair had something like a 92 or 96% efficiency. What that means is that when your power is converted from AC to DC, we lose some of this in either work, light, motion, or something like it there. I can't remember all the names, but it's just gone. You'll never see it during the conversion, right, from AC to DC. That's what that means. So if you see one that's any higher, well, this is a platinum. It's a 7-year warranty on this power supply. That's another reason why I decided to buy this. Digitally controlled by power, quite energy operation. The fan also, like, say if you're only at 350 watts and idle, the fan will shut off, and when there's a load put onto the power supply unit, the fan will kick in. That way, eliminating noise level in the room, which this is ridiculous, and this is one thing I'm actually tackling on this system build, is keeping it quiet, because I can't take the fans anymore. And if you have a motherboard, you can also control it like the Asus with the Stream Digi Plus engine. Allows you to control the fan headers and so forth and so on. Yeah, so that's the reason why I ended up getting this, because of the 7-year warranty and the bull crap that was happening between PC Power and Cooling. My server has that, and this one has it, and do I have PC Power and Cooling supply in that one, the silencer, and I bought the silencer too for the server, but the silencer in this one here has been going now almost 5 years without a hiccup at all, and the hold up time on this is phenomenal. The power that kicks in and out, the hold up time means when the power goes out in your house, this will take probably roughly like, you know, a few milliseconds before it drops down. So if the power goes like this, other equipment in your house will completely power off. My machine won't. My machine will stay going while that happens in and out. Now, the little secret behind this, the higher you go up in wattage, the better the hold up time is. Okay, so that's what that means. That's the hold up time. There's a lot of definitions that I speak about. I really love power supply units. I don't want to go into it. This is just a quick overview of what I got. So I got to stop right now when that's it. I'm sorry. If you want to know more, there's lots of reviews out there on the web. There's a nice blonde that does a review on this. I can't remember her name. I think she's from Europe somewhere. Yeah, over in that part. So that is it with the power supply units. I will show more when I put it in the system for a test, but I just want to go over this. It has all your cables. You can just go online and search it. I'll have this box until God knows how long. It's 7 years, so I have to keep the box no matter what. The all-in-one closed-loop liquid cooler. Now here, this one here, I wish at Computex, I just finished it up. The Fractal Design come out with a new all-in-one liquid cooler, but the best thing about it, it has the G1 fittings, and so in other words that you could take off your tubing, and add more to the loop in the radiator, so if you want to cool your processor, you can cool that, cool your GPU, so forth and so on, and just add pieces to it. This is what's going to happen in the future, that all-in-one coolers is going to eventually have the G1 fittings, especially if Fractal Design takes off with the new cooler they launched at Computex 2014. It would have got that if it had software control. To read how many gallons or liters is pumped through this in an hour, I don't know. I know you can change the fans in a note, but our RPMs, I think it's like 15 or 3,000 or something like that. I can't remember. That's it. We know it lights up, whatever. I don't care about that stuff. That's only just a bunch of eye candy, right? But yeah, with the software, yeah, with the Corsair link is really cool. So that's why I wanted to get this, because it had control. So that is it for my Corsair. In this, I have 3 things left. It's going to be the Intel's Devil Canyon 4790K, way better than the 4770K, and it does outperform a $1,000 processor just about in almost every benchmark. Check it out on Hardware Canucks. You'll see what I'm saying. I don't know why everybody's on the big hissy fit because it's not reaching 5 gigahertz. Really? Really? Whatever. I'm coming from a Wolfdale, Penryn, dual core E8400 to a 4790K, almost 4 gigahertz out the box and almost overclockable to 5. Plus is outperforming a $1,000 processor that just hit the market last year. It's not even a year old, and people's complaining. You're on pills. You guys need help, whoever you are. And so that is it. And here's my SSD. This is my first SSD ever. Sad thing about it is that 21st edition upgrading a pair of PCs, I wouldn't recommend it to actually buy it for SSDs. There's hardly any information to it, and for what I learned from Maximum PC magazines, reading online, you know, like as new stuff come out, keeping up to date of what is what, so I have a good idea. And also with this too, there's software, 7mm, yeah, so that's slim. I wouldn't call it ultra slim. Ultra slim will be 5mm. But yeah, the software comes with this too for trim support, garbage collection, and so forth. You don't defrag a SSD either. Never do that. You may want to turn it off. There's a couple of commands you can run in Windows 7 to make sure trim support's actually going and so forth. Just do a Google search on that. It'll bring it up. You'll find it. I believe it was Lifehacker. Yeah, jump over to Lifehacker. That's where it was. I read it in the magazine, but I wanted more full detail than just a magazine, so I started researching it. But I am pretty up to speed with SSDs and the cells, triple level cell, multiple level cell, single cell, 1, 2, 3 bits, whatever. Some of them has triple level cell and cache, or multiple level cell and storage, and all that. Different combinations happening now. Samsung just hit, I believe it was 10 nanomillimeter at Computex with their Samsung solid state drives, and I think, or maybe it was a 14. I'm not sure. It could have been a 10 though. But yet they're still operating underneath 20, whatever. I'm not worried about that. So this is the Samsung Evo triple level cell 250 gigabyte SSD, first one I ever ordered. And we're going to test her out. Obviously, I only have SATA 2, so it's not going to be going at full speed. SATA 3 is 6 gigabits per second. It's called SATA 3, not 6 gigabits per second. SATA 3. SATA 2, 3 gigabytes. SATA 1, 1.5 gigabytes. Okay, gigabits. Gigabits. or gigabytes. I don't know. I'm tired of it. I'm studying too much stuff. 3-year limited warranty, but this will probably end up lasting you longer than your system. Depending on it, you probably write like 70 or 80 gigs or fill up the full drive once a day for the next fucking 3 years. So you'll never do that. You'll end up with this drive for almost like a good 7-8 years. You might end up even putting them back in the box in the closet. That's how good it's going to be lasting. So that is it with my new gear, and for what's left is the Devil's Canyon processor. Sorry for jumping all over the place. The Asus Maximus 6 Hero, the Republic of Gamers board, and the Corsair Vengeance Pro 1866 DDR3 RAM, also with the airflow, just like the Dominator series. Yeah, it comes with a nice fan. I just want it because, well, whatever, right? It looks nice, it's red, matches the board, everything, and so forth. But that's it for my gear. This could be all dead from all I know. I might have to get on the phone and fight with Newegg. Well, I can't say fight with Newegg because they had no problem taking back my Corsair Cosmo 2 case. There was a little chip, a piece of plastic gone, back in the box and took it, and they had no problem at all. So Newegg is a really good company to order from. Stay away from NCIX. Don't buy those people. Tiger Direct is good depending who you get. Yeah, I pick Tiger Direct over NCIX any day. Stay away from NCIX, okay? You know how their tech support is? Take a picture and send it to them in an email. Stay away from those people. Newegg is good. So this is my power supply unit, SSD, my all-in-one liquid cooler from Corsair, both of them, and Samsung. And my other 3 pieces will be here shortly. And then I can build my system. And I'm taking my graphics card out of this, the GTX 670, over to the new one. And I'm taking over the CD drives and my 3 terabytes over. And the rest of it's just getting packed away. So let's see how it turns out. Power supply is going great. I just like to point out the gaugeness, like how thick American wire gauge this is versus the PC power and cooling. Fan just kicked in there, look. The fan don't kick in on this until it has about 240, I believe it is, watts of a load. I just can't seem to kick it in. I might have to grab another graphics card and stop it in the other PCI Express lane and load the other 2 PCI Express power connectors onto it, which would be, I think, one 8-pin 150 and one 6-pin 75. That's what they are, those 2 right here. It's going to be difficult to see with all this light. I didn't want to do this. This is my old system. I'm just using this to test the hardware. So I love the Corsair power supply. I never used the Corsair Link or none of that stuff yet. I'm leaving that for the last, the good stuff, right? Save the best for last. I also like to point out that this here is 16 American wire gauge. I found that out. More than likely you're also probably using plus high current system terminals. Terminals are already in little middle things that connect to the wire, and these are what count the most. You burn them out and then it's gone, right? There's like terminals in your stove or terminals on a battery. It's the same thing, right? That's exactly what terminals are. There we go, fans kicking in again so much this peaked above 240 or 250 watts. But it is working, and I just wanted to point out, well, this is the Cooler Master H100i. I don't, apparently I can feel the pump going. It's pretty warm, not warm, but you know, this is the way hardware should be. So that passed this test. This was confusing. The fan headers, they had this safety cap over it, and I didn't realize it, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? These 2 little fan pin headers, that's to a Y splitter into the pump, and I was like almost like 3 or 4 minutes. I was like, what? I couldn't, and then I hauled onto it and then it come off. I'm like, wow, okay, maybe you should put that in the manual too, because as much as I know, I was completely dumb. And I was like, what? Is that fitting in there? Like, what are you talking about? And so I hauled it off, and that's how apparently how you do it. But the power supply is great. I love power supplies. And I just told you about these 2 So that's done. The SSD is done. It's okay. Passed. I had to use a SATA 2 cable. They say use SATA 3, and I also didn't have Advanced Host Controller interface enabled in the BIOS, so I couldn't take advantage of the native command queuing and so forth and so on, right? But I'm just saving that for my new system, because if you change that inside your system, your BIOS, and when you restart, you'll end up no disk found or something. Obviously, I already know that, but you can do a registry tweak beforehand if you want to enable the Advanced Host Controller interface if it's on default IDE. But my opinion, and also other opinions I read, you should just enable RAID, just Advanced Host Controller interface RAID or RAID AX860i. Replace what NVMe or NVM, right? Something like that. Millions of native command queuing and all that and so forth, and it's better. There's also something to do with PCI Express and the M.2 slot, where you don't have that native command because it's only built into the chipset or for SATA itself, or I don't know, something like that's happening. I never got up to speed on that yet, but I will. I just wanted to point that out. Main thing when you're testing a power supply, sure, it goes good and all this and that there. Yes, it runs your hardware and all that, no problems. But what you should do is that the gray wire on pin 8, I believe it is, this is a 24 pin 20 plus 4 pin connector, additional 4 pins. I jump started I grounded out the PS on, sorry. You can hear I just moved, hang on a sec. It was the PS on. The PS on is the green wire. See how I have it grounded out? Oh, you're not going to see that. You can ground it out between the other two. Don't go on to 5 volt. You see that purple wire? That's the 5 volt standby. Why? Yeah, I just did this because the system was outgoing, so I just put it on the old power supply instead of having it on this one. I could have, but I just did that because I was too lazy to go in the box and open it up and get the other one. So if you're wondering why, that's why. Yeah, I just grounded it out, and what's happening there now, it just dropped in signal and went to I'm not quite sure how much voltage is on that line, to be honest with you. I really can't remember that. All you do is back probe it. But the main focal point of it is you have to have a load on the system, and you should back probe pin 8, that's the gray wire. And the power good signal, sometimes called the power OK or PWR OK, is a 5 volt nominal active high signal with a variation from 2.4 volts through 6 volts, generally being considered acceptable, that is supplied to the motherboard when the power supply has passed its internal self-test and the output voltages have stabilized. This typically takes place anywhere from 0 milliseconds to 500 milliseconds, to 0.1 to 0.5 seconds after you turn on the power supply switch. The power supply then sends the power grid signal to the motherboard, or the processor timer chip that controls the reset line to the processor receives it. In the absence of the power good, the timer chip holds the reset line on the processor, which prevents the system from running under bad or unstable power conditions. When the timer chip receives the power good signal, it releases the reset, and the processor begins executing whatever code is at address, usually the quad F0H occupied by the motherboard ROM. So you just got the rundown of that. You want more, you can do a good research, I guess, but back probe the gray wire and make sure it's in a variation of 2.4 to 6 volts. And the system was loaded. If I can just get that in there. There we go. And it's 5 volts. So this power supply, well, the PC power and cooling one, I already knew that it is acceptable. So I will back probe the Corsair, and more likely it is with all the high features it has. And right now it's not on because I just hold the jumper out, not the jumper, the paper clip, sorry. But I see it's 5 volts, so it is acceptable. You have to have a full load on the system to actually back probe this. Yeah, so that's about it. That's a little tip I wanted to point out. That's a digital multimeter. Don't put it past 20 either, because you can actually damage your hardware, but some digital multimeters have built-in protection to prevent that. But don't put it past a direct current DC voltage 20. See? Don't go past that at all. And don't be flicking it around either when it's all connected. And don't forget to ground out. Alright, because I'm grounded out there. But yeah, that's it. And the last two, let me take this probe out. This 12 volt yellow line right here is dedicated to the processor. As graphics and new ports or slots come along, eventually we had to actually add more to this. And this 12 volt, the 3.3 volts, and 5 volts, I think it is. No, it ain't. It's 2 ground, sorry. Why does it all look the same color? Yeah, there we go. It's red. 12 volts, 3 volts, 5 volts, and 1 ground. So the extra 4, sorry for the zooming in. The extra 4 ports of this is dedicated to the PCI Express. So when you plug your graphics card in, it's drawing 75 watts. And I already told you what these two were, right? 8 pin is 150, 1 is 75. You might also see a 6 pin with only 2 instead of 3 12 volt connections onto it. I didn't realize that until I actually wrote it, so yeah, that's a little tip I want to point out with all my new gear. If you want to test your power supply, that's definitely one thing to look at, and definitely to make sure is between 2.4 volts through 6 volts, generally being considered acceptable. And also to like to point out too, when people raise reviews, this is called the EPS/ATX 12 volt. Well, it's EPS/EPS 12 volt or ATX/ATX 12 volt. System server infrastructure. Many companies like Dell, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, and so forth. This was created for system servers and data centers and that there. And eventually we ended up with it into the computer. So we had 4 pin before, which was ATX/ATX 12 volt. Then we had a 4 more, which essentially makes it a EPS/EPS 12 volt. But there's usually a clip between to pull them apart. So they are called EPS/ATX 12 volt. And I hate the fact that people don't put that in the review. So yeah, study your stuff before you actually start writing about it. I don't like it, I hate it, and I will correct you if it ain't in the review. I did many times. So that's it. That's all I had to point out. My cooler's working great. You can change the light on that. You can also add, since I have the power supply, this is a little extra port that allows you to, for example, if I want to put my power, if I had no more USB headers on my motherboard, I can plug it into this. Now, I never seen the wire to hook this up for my power supply to this. If I got to buy it separately, whatever, who cares? I should have enough motherboard port headers anyway. I pointed out a couple of good tips. And we're going to see what my other gear turns out to be like. The Devil's Canyon processor and the Asus Maximus 7 Hero board, and either 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM. Why that much RAM? Because I can use Asus's so-called virtualization for RAM. It allows you to use it as a storage, the remaining of your memory as a storage unit. Like to try it out, considering RAM is cheap anyway. And that'll be Corsair Vengeance Pro also with the airflow. So when that shows up, well, you'll probably end up seeing it in the Cosmo 2, everything fully loaded. Probably not right away. It'll probably be on the disk underneath surgery to make sure everything's running correctly. And that's about it. Just got done back probing the power good signal. Power OK, or PWR OK for short. And it is in range between 2.4 and 6 volts, so this is definitely being acceptable. Versus, and also the PC power and cooling was up a little higher, 5. If you look back at the last take, and that. So if you want to back probe the power good signal, which is the gray wire, on a 24 pin main board connector, it because this is your main board connector with your terminals. So if it's a 24 pin, you're going to back probe pin 20. And if it's a 20 pin, if you take off this little clip, you can see a 20 pin, it'll be 18, pin 18, which is kind of, yeah, kind of weird, but that's just how the way it goes. Okay. So now that's out the way. If you are wondering why there's no terminal in, oh boy, whatever pin number that may be, if that's pin 18, pin 20, yeah, it would be pin 8. So if you go from pin 1 to pin 12, then from pin 13 to pin 24, this is pin 8. So if you're wondering why there's no terminal in this, it's a white wire that used to be there. This terminal got removed from ATX version 1.3 specification because it supported the older ISA bus slots. Yeah, so that was a minus 5 volt. So that you're wondering why that's gone, that's the reason why. And there's also a minus 12 volt. This one here, I think so. I really can't remember off by hand. It was used for older floppy drives that required the minus 12 volt. I could be wrong, and probably a few other little things here and there that nobody probably ever even used. And I have no reason why it still exists in here, to be honest with you. So if I'm wrong or something, feel free to comment below and fill me in on that. And so I got that out the way. Here, if you see extra orange, which is 3.3 volts, 2 wires in one terminal, it is a sense feedback. And when I was looking, I see that not only is there extra sense feedback in the ground and also on the other ground, so these are also, it could be brown, could be black, could be orange. There's two black ones here, which is a sense feedback indefinitely. Same thing applies for your PCI Express power connectors. Yellow is 12 volts, so we know that. And your 2 ground should be here, and a sense feedback also in here. The center, sorry. What pin number is out? These are arranged, I can't remember off by hand, but a simple Google search should tell you. But when I'm back probing these for some particular reason, these 2 are ground, and I'm only picking up 1 ground in the full 6 terminals and 1 over here. So don't be surprised if it's something reading differently. I don't know why it's doing that, to be honest with you, or maybe it's the graphics card. That is about it, I believe, yes. And if you wanted to get your power supply going for liquid cooling or something like I had set up, you just put it in the PS on, which is the green wire. Clearly it's pin 1, 2, 3, 4, pin 4, and you ground it out between either ground, but stay away from this side because you notice the minus 12 volt is there. So just try to ground it out over here to the second one. Then you can turn on your power, so like the power supply will start after the switch is flicked on in the rear. So don't forget that. So this is it for the Corsair AX860i with a couple of pointers and tips. The Cooler Master's, Corsair's H100i. I have it all assembled. You see me running that, and my SSD. And next will be the other 3 pieces that I mentioned previously. So let's see how it turns out when it arrives. Yay! I finally got my Maximus 7 Hero motherboard, the Asus Republic of Gamers. So let's see what it actually looks like in the open air chassis. Yeah, looks awesome, wicked. Oh man, I couldn't wait for this. You know, we have a DDR3 operating at 2133. Awesome. We have our new graphics port. It's totally forgettable PCI Express 16 time. This is a new bad boy in town right here. You can scratch it out the list. We have our gaming port, our controller. We have 7.1 surround sound. We have our parallel port for our printing and our 3D printer. I mean, we got it all. Super speed USB 3.0. We have it, everything here. This is USB 3.1 if We have 4K resolution. We have a, oh yeah, this is a processor clocked at 4 gigahertz. Yeah, right. No, this is an old board that was in this open air chassis, I guess. This is something that I hauled out of the computers I worked on over the years, and I remember powering it up, and I didn't do nothing with it. I just left it there and I threw it in the shed. This was years ago, and I needed something to put my ROG board into. I'll get back to that in a second. I want to go over the board, my processor, and my Corsair Vengeance Airflow, Corsair Vengeance Pro RAM 1866. Boom. So I'll get back to that in a second. But yeah, I just had to look at this. This was old school. I believe there's power to the board right now. It's live. You can see the LEDs, and this is pretty unique. How do you have the LED here? I know you can't see it, but it says RAM SB power. So I'm assuming the SB is the cell bridge, which is right here. This chip. That's the North bridge. Look at the chips. Don't even have heat sinks onto it. This is the old school, and this is PC 100. I think that's operating at 133. Yeah, 133 or 256, either or. I'm not sure. Look it up. You'll know what it is. Yeah, I think that's the BIOS, the cell bridge, North bridge, Super I/O chip, which is also accommodating for the floppy. I know that one. 2 IDEs, probably no more than 3366, if that. I'm not even sure what the processors in this. It could be a socket 7. I'm not quite sure. It looks like there's cache on the board right there. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I had to do that just to see. You know, it's a big difference when you're looking at this and then we come ahead almost 15-20 years, and then boom, look at that, right? This is night and day. Yeah, I just wanted to fire it up for a laugh. Well, we have power to the board. RAM was good. We had the VGA hooked up. I don't know about this USB converter or dongle into the 6-pin DIP or I can't remember, 6-pin connector, keyboard connector. VGA's 15 dB. Can't remember what the parallel port is. These are good for hacking with, old school stuff. They usually use that a lot, the serial port. And Hewlett Packard is responsible for creating this. You believe that or not? Anyhow, let's. I don't want to talk about old stuff. It's fun and all. Yeah, so let's see if we can fire this bad boy up. It could blow up right now. I never even tried it in a long while. Oh yeah, I'm using the reset as the power because this one don't have it. I just salvaged it off. I scrapped some systems. Look at the speaker. That's old school. Anyhow, let's see if she's alive. You never lean over the board like that either when you're turning it on, because there's stories of stuff being popped. The VRM is popping and leaving scars on your face. So just stay back like that, like this electricity switch. It's on. Oh, there's your beep. Power on self-test. Oh my God, look! It's a Celeron 533, 66 times. 1999. Oh my God. Memory's okay. Edward BIOS, which is owned by Phoenix now, or Phoenix owns Edward, something like that. I can't remember. Wow, that's old school. Let's see if we can get into the BIOS. And yeah, we can. Advanced BIOS features. Look at that. Virus. Remember the virus warning crap? That's nuts. Smart monitoring, analyzing, reporting. Like, look at the mess they used to create before. CPU frequency control. Clock speed default. Yeah, I can overclock with this. The spread spectrum was like just noise. Google it, you want to know more. CPU ratio set at 3. That's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, I held this from a working system. I didn't think it worked anymore. And as you can see too also, that we're only using one 20-pin main power connector. There's not even no 4-pin 12 volt or EPS slash 12 volt connector. 4 and 4 is dual, so it'd be 8 pins. But it's just drawing the wattage off the 12 volt. Previously I showed you on the Corsair power supply. But I just wanted to fire it up for a laugh. So it's a Celeron processor in there. Yeah, that's about it. Go to advanced chipset. Look at the column address, Storby, call it latency, set the tray. It says 2 on the stick. Yeah. Those that I remember the days when the simple overclock, couple of switches and that. Now is that extreme? You probably have to read a 40-page review just to figure out what to do. I'm by no means extreme overclocking, I can tell you that, but it's got really difficult over the years, and even more with the UEFI BIOS, unified sensible firmware interface. That's it. I just want to fire it up for a laugh. Oh my god. Isn't that loud sound in the office? Going off. Burp. There's 2,000 up there. Yeah, this is still a pretty good little board, I must admit. I do have extra processors here in my drawer processor collection. My little toolkit. Yeah, in this. And there's other ones I hauled from other systems. I worked on a lot of systems, but I give it up now. I'm done. Yeah. CMOS some check error default load. Yeah. That's it. Let's hook up this bad boy. Talk about it in a second. Let's see how that it's gonna over enjoy me and excite me.